Thank you so much for speaking with me today, JD. I really enjoyed Hunt.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So my first question is, for most directors, when they're directing their first film, it's usually a very personal story.
Yeah.
So I have
Usually, yes.
it's usually something introspective and deep. But for you, this film is very action heavy, very action oriented. So what was it that inspired you to work with your co-writer Jo Seung-hee to create this story for Hunt?
네, 처음에 이제 연출로 처음 하시는 건데 개인적인 스토리 대신 이런 큰 이야기를 가지고 오신 이유에 대해서 좀 말씀해 주시겠어요?
글쎄요. 아니 저는 사실 제가 연출할 생각이 없었어요 처음부터.
So I didn't intend to do the directing in the beginning.
Okay.
근데 이제 훌륭하게 연출을 해주실 분을 못 찾아서 이제 제가 직접 시나리오를 쓰게 됐고 그러면서 이제 시나리오를 완성을 하다 보니까 이제 연출을 하게 됐죠.
Well, I couldn't find the suitable director, so I sort of worked on revising the script, and that's why I ended up directing myself as well.
Okay, so you said you couldn't find a suitable director. What was it about the director that you may have possibly interviewed that just didn't quite work for you to work with Hunt?
혹시 다른 감독분들 얘기해 주실 때 그분들이 이제 할 수 없다고 말씀하신 이유가 있을까요?
첫 번째로는 사실 그 투탑 그 캐스팅 구조의 시나리오를 쓰기가 조금 쉽지는 않아요.
It's hard to write a script that has the two protagonists.
그리고 남북의 정치적인 그런 이야기도 조금 있고 그리고 또 한국의 근대사 부분도 조금 있고 그렇다 보니까 실제 이야기가 있다 보니까 그것을 영화적으로 이제 잘 표현하는 것이 굉장히 좀 어려운 부분이 있죠, 사실은. 그래서 아마 좀 다들 어려워하신 것 같아요.
It deals with the Korean modern history as well as some of the stories about the North, the political situation of the North and the South as well. So it's because it sort of talks about the historical events. So dramatizing that story into a movie could be difficult. I think that was the main reason.
Yes, I was very intrigued about how you spoke both about the conflict between North Korea and South Korea and how actually the country of Korea was split up into North and South, and then actually in a very subtle way address the politics between South Korea and Japan. So how did you go about making sure that you address both those aspects of Korean politics and history but still keep it in the more modern aspect and fictionalized for an action film?
그런 남북 관계라든지 일본과의 관계 이런 거에 대해서 좀 이렇게 좀 예민한 부분에 대해서 영화에 담으셨는데 그런 거를 어떻게 하셨는지.
사실은 하지만은 더 중요한 주제는 저희 나라가 가지고 있는 어떤 그런 아픈 역사를 알리는 것이 더 먼저는 아니었기 때문에 전 세계의 관객분들과 함께 고민했으면 하는 주제는 첫 번째는 이제 더 이상의 폭력을 멈추자라는 것이 첫 번째고 그다음에 두 번째는 이제 내가 가지고 있는 나의 가치관과 어떤 세계관 이런 것이 과연 정말 건강한 데에서 온 믿음인가라는 생각을 좀 한번 같이 해보고 싶었어요. 왜냐하면은 지금 뭐 각 나라 선거 뭐 대통령 선거 할 때 보면은 이쪽 당 저쪽 당에서 굉장히 치열하게 많이 싸우는 과정에서 가짜 뉴스도 너무 많이 나오고 그리고 또 그 가짜 뉴스를 믿는 국민들과 시민들이 서로 이제 대립하고 갈등하는 그런 모습들을 보면서 제가 봤을 때는 그런 상황들이 해가 갈수록 더 심해지는 것 같아서 우리 더 이상 이러지 맙시다 라는 그런 주제를 담고 싶었던 거지 뭐 한국과 국제 정세에 대한 이야기를 담고 싶었던 건 아니기 때문에.
Well, it was not necessarily, I wasn't trying to tell the story of this political situations or the Korea's sort of sad history. That's not the point that I was trying to make it come across. The most important thing was, first of all, it was about stopping the violence, and that's a theme that I want everybody to sort of consider and think about it together. And second of all, individually, the people who their belief and ideology, I wanted people to ask themselves if that's coming from the healthy place. And when you look at these, for example, presidential election all around the world, you always see this political opposition. They're always fighting. There's fabricated information, fake news, and that makes, and the people believe this news, and they are in opposition and conflict with each other. So, and I feel like it's getting worse every year. And just to have the theme of harmonizing together, I think that was the main theme.
Yes, that theme really comes through, especially in between your character and that of Jung Woo-sung. I thought it was interesting that this whole cat and mouse game, the hunt, is actually about these two characters who have the same idea of resolution and reconciliation of North and South Korea by making it just going back together, but they have two different philosophies of how to approach it. And at the end, I was just thinking, if they had been honest with each other, they could have had a much more peaceful resolution and come together for actually with a plan that could have worked, because the ultimate goal is to have the country whole again. So in developing the script and then in talking with Jung Woo-sung when you were developing the characters, what kind of conversations did you have about that? Because I just love the whole idea of reconciliation is the main point, even to the very end with the two characters, where it's just like it could have been a reconciliation between a dad and his adopted daughter, for instance.
방금 말씀하신 게 이 두 캐릭터를 봤을 때도 저를 영화 보면서 굉장히 많이 그렇게 말씀하신 것처럼 느꼈는데요. 이런 서로 다른 신념을 가지고 있지만 같은 목적으로 같은 목적을 향해서 갈 수 있는 이 두 캐릭터에 대해서 혹시 정우성 씨와 그런 부분에 대해서 말씀하신 부분이 있는지, 그리고 영화 자체가 마지막에도 이런 이렇게 다른 신념을 가지고 있고 서로 다른 걸 믿고 있지만 같은 걸 결국에는 남북 간에 화합하는 그런 그림을 그리시잖아요. 그런 부분에 대해서 얘기를 해줄 수 있을까요?
우성 씨하고 시나리오에 대해 있어서는 크게 상의를 한 것은 없고요. 우성 씨가 많은 부분에 공감을 해주셨고, 그리고 또 이제 많은 부분에 있어서 저를 서포트를 해주셨고, 그런데 이제 어떤 장면들로 인해서 중립적인 시선이 아닌 조금 오해받을 수 있는 시선이 존재할 수 있겠다라는 씬이 몇 개가 있었거든요. 한 2개 정도가 있었는데 그 씬을 조금 수정을 하는 게 어떠냐라고 얘기를 해가지고 수정을 했습니다.
In terms of developing the screenplay and also the parts that you mentioned, that we didn't really have a discussion. I didn't really have a discussion with Jung Woo-sung. However, he did agree with the script in terms of the direction, and also he gave me a lot of support. And there are two scenes that you could sort of perceive it as it's not through an objective perspective, and people could actually misunderstand. So he pointed that out, so I was able to get some help from him.
Do you mind saying which two scenes? Because there's very specific scenes in my head that I'm thinking of, but could you say which scenes we're speaking of?
지금 말씀하신 그 두 장면이 제 머릿속에 지금 말씀하신 순간 떠올랐거든요. 혹시 그게 어떤 장면인지 말씀해 주실까요?
그거는 이제 그 어린 대학생과 관련된 학생들 씬 2개가 있었는데, 그래서 그거는 영화상에서는 조금 수정되고 그리고 하나는 아예 빠졌어요.
So there were two scenes that's sort of involving those young university students.
Yes.
So one was actually one was revised and one was actually eliminated.
The scenes with the students is interesting because it kind of reminded me of I'm not going to mention Korean dramas, but it reminded me of films like 1989 The Day. There's other films about the time, like the Gwangju massacre and other points of political intrigue, and like even shows I think it's there's a very famous Korean drama which talks about that moment where just after everything has ended and then it's preparing for the 1988 Olympics, and it talks about how students were very instrumental in South Korea obtaining its democracy. And I love that you interjected that moment and to give the recognition to the students, but also it turned into moments of levity because they were kind of funny. Those things are
그 광주 학생 그 광주 사건이라던가 이제 그 올림픽 전까지 이제 학생들이 어떤 식으로 민주화 운동에 참여를 했는지 그런 드라마라던가 이런 걸 많이 봤는데 그런 부분을 영화적으로 이제 그 헌트에 담으셔서 그런 부분이 되게 좋았다고.
Yeah, so I mentioned the streets and the levity. So this film, I was wondering, like, when you're creating a script like this and you're directing a film like this, it's serious. It's very action. It's a thriller. It's politics. It's about political intrigue, lies. But the action was kind of like funny to me, and it was funny in a very entertaining way. It's like in my audience that I was watching it for the screening, we were laughing because the action is just so ridiculous. Oh. So I want to ask you about just coordinating with your stunt choreographers and just like finding harmony in the seriousness of the action and making sure it gels with the script, because you have to make sure the action occurs at the correct point so it doesn't interrupt the flow of the story.
그러니까 이렇게 심각한 영화이기도 하지만 액션 부분은 너무나 엔터테이닝하기도 했고 되게 재밌게 보고 이제 영화를 보면서 같이 웃으신 분도 되게 많은데요. 이런 심각한 영화와 이런 좀 액션을 이야기에 이제 문제가 되지 않도록 중간중간에 이제 넣는다던가 이런 스턴트 코디네이터랑 어떤 식으로 그런 거를 이제 디자인을 하셨는지.
정통 에스피오나지 영화들이 예전에 봤을 때는 와 멋있다라고 생각했는데 지금 다시 보니까 너무 슬로우 템포여가지고 지금 정통 에스피오나지 장르물을 했을 때 과연 지금 젊은 관객분들이 좋아하실까라는 생각을 하게 되면서 이 중간중간마다 한 15분, 20분 단위로 액션을 계속 집어넣어야 되겠구나라고 생각을 하면서 시나리오를 쓰게 됐습니다.
I think when I first started writing the script, I was looking back on the the classic espionage films, and at the time I thought it was cool. But now that I look at it, was in a way was in a slow tempo, it was slowly developed. So I was wondering if the young audience nowadays they would actually enjoy this type of film. So I had to put the action sequences every 15-20 minutes to sort of hold that interest.
그러다 보니까 이제 액션 코디네이터하고 이제 상의를 많이 했는데 제가 제일 중요하다고 생각하는 것은 진짜 같은 상황 그리고 그리고 짧지만 굉장히 임팩트가 강한 액션 장면으로 만들어야 된다라는 회의를 많이 했습니다.
So working with the action coordinator and having a meetings that the things that I focused on was making it realistic, plausible, that it's believable for the audience, and it can be short, but it has to have a strong impact on the audience as well.
The explosion at the end had everyone gasping. So we have time for one more question. So, I'm a huge fan of your films, and I'm a huge fan of and I've seen Deliver Us from Evil, and I love that film. And I see that you're going to be doing a sequel, Ray, which is the prequel of that story. So I need to know, what was your reason for doing the sequel and to build a villain universe, and when will you take rest? Because all of these action films take a heavy toll on your body mentally and physically. So when I saw that announcement, I'm like, but wait, you're doing Squid Game 2, you're going to be doing Star Wars, playing the Sith Lord. Possibly, I know it's not a spoiler, but then you're also going to do Ray, and I'm like, rest? When?
뭐 오징어 게임이랑 그 다만학에서 두 번째 편이랑 뭐 스타워즈도 한다는 그런 소문도 있고 한데 이제 이런 육체적으로 힘든 일 어떻게 그걸 다 찍으실지 그걸 좀 생각해요.
네, 그래서 제 스케줄이 문제예요 지금.
I have some issues with my schedule.
Clearly, she's gone, so I can ask another question. You have your own production company, Artist Studio, which you also use to produce Hunt and also Deliver Us for Evil. I was wondering, is there any plans to not only to develop your own projects like Ray, but also independent projects for up-and-coming filmmakers, or even working with student filmmakers to make short films or even doing internships, because I think like having your own studio is such a big deal for an actor, but then it's a great way to give opportunities to new creatives in the industry.
직접 이제 제작하시고 있는 회사에서 이제 그런 큰 영화들도 많으셨지만 혹시 뭐 신인 감독이라던가 학생 감독이라던가 이런 곳을 이제 서포트 해주면서 하실 이제 계획도 있으신가요?
굉장히 중요한 질문을 해주셨고.
That's such an important question.
저희가 새로운 도전을 조금 더 하는 프로덕션이었으면 좋겠고, 그리고 또 두 번째로는 그런 신인 감독들, 신인 라이터들을 더 이쪽 상업 그 필름 메이커들이랑 이렇게 같이 작업을 할 수 있게끔 하는 프로그램을 지금도 계속 하고 있습니다.
Well, I'm actually continuously working with this new director and the new the screenwriter for them to be able to connect it to this commercial film industry, and it's because my production company is always looking for a new challenge.
I think it would be amazing if you could continue working on just like developing new talent, but also especially for younger filmmakers, because I've interviewed people like Bora Kim and Nam Kung Sun, and like they have a lot of these, especially female filmmakers are making such important stories. Kind of like how you use Hunt to, I think, while a lot of people are like, focused on the action, it's very deep and has a lot of stories, as we said, about reconciliation. But for a lot of new filmmakers, they're using it to put stories about Korean culture and where they want it to go, like female identity and politics.
지금 하시는 일 굉장히 중요하다고 느끼시는 게 헌트에서도 액션뿐만 아니라 그런 굉장히 무겁고 심각한 주제에 대해서도 말씀을 하신 부분이 있는데, 이런 다른 만나본 그리고 여성 그리고 좀 그런 감독님들이 그런 여성적인 부분이라던가 아니면 한국에서의 문화라던가 이런 여성 감독의 시선으로서 하는 보고 있는 거를 많이 봤거든요. 그래서 지금 하시고 계신 일이 굉장히 뜻깊은 일이라고 생각이 듭니다.
네, 그래서 지금은 여성 캐릭터, 여성 라이터, 그다음에 여성 디렉터들의 그 능력을 보다 많은 사람들이 이제 아셔야 되는 것도 사실은 지금 그 필름 메이커들이 많이 움직여서 바꿔야 하는 그런 시기인 건 분명한 것 같아요. 그리고 정말 대한민국에도 훌륭한 대한민국에는 작가분들이 거의 다 90%가 한 70%가 여성일 것 같고요. 그리고 훌륭한 감독들, 훌륭한 여성 감독들이 많이 있기 때문에 앞으로 많이 기대해 주셔도 좋을 것 같습니다.
I think the filmmakers need to work towards and focus on this, focus on developing the female characters as well as pay attention to the screenwriters and the female director as well. And in Korea, actually, 70% of the screenwriters are actually female, and there are lots of great director as well. So I need you guys to anticipate on that.
Yes, I can't wait to see. Like I'm a huge fan of Korean film, like genuinely. So I'm very excited to see where the industry is going, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me and answering my questions. I appreciate it. 감사합니다. 감사합니다, Renee. Thank you for your work.